Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and I know you've seen this before, but have you seen this before? Have you seen me miss my entire proc before? Well, I'm using a proc this time, and you can see that the damage is quite outrageous because of the proc that I'm using. That's right, this is a CTP of Rage Jean Grey test, and I think this is ultimately going to be the nail in the coffin for confirming that this is by far the best situation for her offensively. And seeing these damage numbers, seeing this absurd amount of damage, makes me wonder if she's better than Sharon Rogers for giant boss raid, and then also makes me wonder if she's a better tier 3 if you want, purely offensive power. Force, it's over. Wow. That was insane. I skipped the first part of the fight because it was just the little robots, but that was so quick. Holy shit. 99% of the damage. 60 million damage in a minute 30. That's almost as good as the Raptors winning the NBA championship, which I'm super excited about. But yeah, she's now rocking a CTP of Rage. I tweaked her setup just a little bit to accommodate the CTP of Rage. It's a very well-rolled one, 2831.7. I re-rolled her first and third setup here so I could give her skill cooldown here, to give her dodge here, just to try to even it out a little bit more. I haven't changed her Uru yet because I haven't finalized on a setup. I did change one of her ignore defense Urus to HP, but that's just because I was way over the cap. So we've got 71.5 crit rate, 187 crit damage, and then 65, almost 66% dodge. We're almost capped on cooldown, already capped on ignore defense, and we're still one upgrade away. So with that last upgrade for her 5th and final slot here with the Black Cat all new, all different, I could give her another hit of crit damage, which could probably put her very close to cap. So it's 200% crit damage, which then could let me re-roll her 4th gear here to more dodge or recovery rate or something like that. Actually, recovery rate wouldn't be a good idea. Probably be best to just go with dodge, but pretty absurd damage. And the CTP of Rage, she just absolutely disintegrates. Now, it's not that impressive against Ebony Maw, which is kind of weird, which you'd think she would be. And I think with 2 supports, she can clear stage 69 of Ebony Maw with a CTP of Rage. And you might think that's really impressive, and I think it's okay, but I think it's way more impressive to talk about what she does against Thanos. Now, some of you guys don't play Thanos, so you don't know, but his defense and his HP is very, very high. It's pretty much #1 among all of these world bosses. So even though I'm going to stage 69 here, Ebony is very weak in terms of his HP and in terms of his defense, especially his defense. Thanos is not. He is a nightmare, even in the 30s. So most players have not gotten past, I think, in the 40s or possibly even 50s is the top that anyone has gotten for Thanos. And I want to show you. I'm going to do the full run here, and we're only going to use one support. This is the craziest part. We're going to use Satana's leadership, which is actually very, very good for Jean because of all that fire damage. And then we're going to use Jean and one striker. One support here with him. But this is 120% fire damage, which is a lot. We got 70 here and 10 and 50 there. Very, very high. And then we're going to go with these 5 strikers. We want to get the maximum amount of increased damage dealt, but we also want to get a little bit more crit from Deadpool and get a little bit of all defense down at the beginning. And then we get just a little bit of mind control there. I would also consider possibly putting in Mr. Fantastic instead of Weapon Hex. Actually, we are going to do that. So let's jump into this match now. And this is the thing about Jean Grey. She doesn't need healing. She doesn't need, anything. I mean, basically the only thing she's missing, the only weakness that Jean Grey has in her entire kit is ignore dodge. That is literally the only skill she does not have, the only stat that she does not get from any of her skill boosts. Obviously, she doesn't have something like all defense down, which other characters have, but that's pretty much it. That's the whole. That's the entirety of her weaknesses. And look at this damage; it's just disgusting how much damage she does. And I would say that she is easier to play than someone like Sharon Rogers for Thanos World Boss Ultimate. And that's a pretty wild claim because Thanos World Boss Ultimate is perfect for Sharon Rogers, and Sharon Rogers does insane damage. But you know what? So does Jean Grey, and it really comes down to that incredibly high energy attack stat. Her energy attack stat is just so high that it just melts Thanos damage-wise and just, you know, disintegrates his HP. Like, these bars just disappear. It's actually quite something. So we're gonna get this done, and you're gonna have to bask in the savagery. But you know, with the rage swap now and the fact that I still have a rage on Thanos, it does kind of stick in my mind the question of whether you'd be better off. If you only have one rage and you only have one tier 3, who are you going to choose? Are you going to choose Jean Grey, or are you going to choose Thanos? And I think a lot of players are going to end up choosing Jean Grey, because unlike Thanos, I think Jean Grey can still really hold it down. But he just blinked. Those last 2 bars blinked. She can still hold it down in PvP with a CTP of Rage, whereas Thanos, a lot more than Jean Grey, Thanos struggles without a defensive CTP. I'm speaking mostly about timeline battle, but I think that's where a lot of people are going to want to know where they pan out. But I think, unlike Thanos, I think Jean Grey can survive, and she can still do a lot of work because of the, you know, iframe ignore, or sorry, the guard break immunity ignore, the guard break penetration on her 5th skill, and just things like that, quirky little things that help her just completely decimate opponents as long as she gets a hit in. She doesn't even, it's not even about dodging and tanking, she just needs to get a hit in, and then things are going to go bad for you pretty much instantaneously. And so you can see this damage here just casually. I'm even missing her tier 3 skill some of the times. I honestly shouldn't have procced it there, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to finish this stage. I know I'm going to finish this stage. Her damage is undeniable. It's huge. Probably should have tried to protect good old Ghost Panther there, but we'll be alright. We'll be just fine. I don't even have the audio cues for when he does his little slam jam, but yeah, you're probably hearing as well celebrations from downstairs for the Raptors' victory, and it's going to go on for a long time, but we're going to see how much damage we do right here. There we go, and just melt that bar all the way to 0. And yeah, and even if I die, you know what? I have another bar. I have another full health bar, and this is just bananas. Yeah, I think it's unequivocal that this is the best offensive CTP for her. You even get the dodge, which can give certain enemies a headache to try and get through to kill her, so it even, you know, helps furthermore. And that also does develop the narrative around the possibility of dodge being the next big killer for PvP, because you have this two-way buff with the CTP of Rage, where you not only get this crazy damage bump for PvE, but then you get, you know, up to 30% dodge, and that's a really big deal for characters that are already so difficult to kill. And if you just can't land that final blow, especially if the character's got 75% all defense, what are you going to do? So even with all these missed procs, I missed a proc at the beginning. I procced the tier 3 skill with like 15 bars and it did a bit of damage. I missed it again at 8 bars. I did it again at 5 bars, and we still finished with over a minute. So I can clean that up and probably finish with 2 minutes, or at least like a minute 30, a minute 45. That's wild. And I'm only using one support, so there's a possibility that I could move Ghost Panther over to the middle. It's not going to be as good of a leadership, but I think you could get even more out of her. And actually, I meant to try it, but I forgot. But I do put it to you guys to try. It's 30% fire damage, so I would lose 40%, but then I could get another buff like Coulson or something like that. But I would put it to you to try Jean Grey with She-Hulk's leadership. That's what I actually wanted to do in this video. Damn it, I forgot to. So I'll have to bring that to you guys in a later video. But I tried it against Cull Obsidian, and it was absolutely disgusting. She was melting Cull Obsidian's armor in a flash. So I actually think that Jean Grey with She-Hulk's lead and Ghost Panther is the #1 team for her, as long as you're fighting a male opponent, not a female opponent. But yeah, I think that it pretty much comes down to CTP of Rage for PvE, and then probably CTP of Regen for PvP is what I've been hearing people say, and it makes sense. You know, it gives her the guard break immunity that she needs for PvP, and the shield, and it gives her max HP. Now, the recovery rate isn't going to help her heal. That's where people are a bit confused. Her healing on her 3rd skill, Bonds of Destiny, is based on how much damage she receives. So it says recovery rate amount increases by 4% per 1% of damage received. So your recovery rate, whether it's 143% like mine or a different number, is not going to affect. The recovery rate is only affected by the damage she receives. But she's recovering 6% minimum every 1 second, which is pretty crazy. On top of that, if you bump up her HP, which is already extremely high, 51,000 HP, you could probably get close to 100,000 base HP if you had like really good Uru and you rolled double HP on her uniform, and you gave her a really well-rolled CTP of Regen, kind of like, in a lot of ways, Wolverine. Now, my Wolverine is at 70% base because he's got the CTP of Regen and because he's got the uniform, and he has a pretty low stat bump compared to, I think he's in the bottom 5 for stat bumps for tier 3s. He's got one of the lowest stat movements from tier 2 to tier 3, unlike Jean Grey. So actually, I do want to check it out really quickly because you can see based on the base stats what it lands on. So if we go to tier, that's tier 2. Can we not go to tier 3? Oh, that's tier 3. Okay, I see. When you press it, it goes immediately to tier 3. So tier 3, he's got 35,200 HP. Now let's go check out Genie, and we'll see what happens here. 38,000. So yeah, that's pretty sad. 38. I don't know why they did that. That makes no sense to me. Jean Grey has more base HP at tier 3 than Wolverine. Think about that. Who can survive more? Who can survive longer? Jean Grey or the man who literally cannot be killed in any comic book, and even when he does die in a giant adamantium, egg that gets kind of peeled away and he's left kind of down on his knees looking out at the sun, he still comes back, this time with an Infinity Stone. So yeah, that kind of tells you all you need to know. Jean Grey, better than offense for pretty much every other character in the game, barring like possibly Sharon Rogers and maybe in some cases Captain Marvel, and then better in PvP than pretty much every other character, barring let's say a few CMs and a few Thanoses and a few other lucky characters now and then. Absolutely disgusting, yes. Nightmares to come, absolutely. CTP of Rage, you need it for this kind of stuff, yeah. For better or for worse, yeah. If you want to push out these numbers and you want to get these crazy, minute kills on Giant Boss Raid, you bet. So file this one under I told you so, Cynicalex, you dummy. Another character that comes out that the CTP of Rage appears to be perfect for. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you'd like to see next on the channel. Subscribe if you enjoy and you want to see more. I totally fucked that up. Go Raps go, We the North, etc, etc. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again later today. Take care.